This is a time of great opportunity for BHP. The resources we produce are essential to the energy transition and global economic growth. Our products are fundamental to the way we live now and into the future. Now more than ever, we need to provide the world the resources it needs responsibly and sustainably. Imagine what we can achieve if we continue to think big.
Hello and welcome to today's discussion with Mark Cutifani, CEO of Anglo American. My name is Sophie Spartalis and I'm the Mining Research Equity Analyst here at Bank of America. Mark has had a long and interesting career which started at Rio Tinto, included a stint at Vale Nickel, and he was also formerly the CEO of Anglo Gold Ashanti. Mark is now the CEO of Anglo American, where he has held that position for 7 years. Mark is extremely passionate and very well placed to discuss our topic today, which encompasses the role of innovation and sustainability in mining. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Sophie. Thanks for the opportunity.
So let's talk about Anglo American's Future Smart Mining Initiative. Can you talk through the progress you are making on tangible technology results?
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. I guess people know in the mining industry, it is a capital intensive industry. And from our point of view, we looked at all of our processes and recognised that we've been doing things very similarly for about 100 years. And from our point of view, we felt there was significant need for change because scale just doesn't get you there in terms of making big changes in cost structures. And so we've really looked at redefining, changing our flow sheets and thinking very differently about the way we operate. We've started with how we characterise ore bodies, new digital approaches, things that we've identified in looking at improving operations. We've developed a bulk sorting technology. So we're taking out the waste and putting high grade through the mills. We've done that at El Soldado. We're now rolling that out to 3 operations: Los Bronces in copper, Mahalaquina and Barro Alto in nickel in Brazil. We've got new coarse particle flotation, which involves recovering ore by using a lot less energy and also helps us with our improvements in terms of recovery. All sorts of things, digital economy, new technologies, all the way through all of our operations. And so we think today it's contributed at least 10% to the 45% we've reduced our costs. We're looking forward, probably another 10 to 20% in the next 3 to 5 years. So significant, and will continue to drive our improvement over the next 10 years.
And another thing that Anglo has done is you've got a stated goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2040, a huge task ahead. I guess, how does Anglo believe technology ties into the path forward for its sustainability plan?
Well, if you go back to that first point about doing the same things for 100 years, the only way we see of really changing our footprint, when I talk about footprint, I'm talking about physical mining areas, I'm talking about consumption of energy, consumption of water, and generation of carbon gases. There are a few things that we look at. And so by changing the flow sheet and the energy consumption, we're also able to change a whole range of other physical variables in the operation. And so to get to carbon neutrality by 2040, we are driving portfolio changes. You know, we're getting out of thermal coal. We've gone into crop nutrients, which is a very small carbon footprint. We are changing technologies and reducing our energy costs by 30% by 2030. So bulk ore sorting, coarse particle flotation means that we can reduce our energy consumption by that 30%. And we're also in processing the ore, which is coarser ground. So we're processing coarser particles because we can recover with our new flotation technologies. We're also able to extract 85% of the water, which means we lower our water footprint by 50% as well. So all of those things that we're doing to redefine the flow sheet are reducing our operating costs, but they're also reducing our energy footprint, which means we're using less energy. And the other thing we're doing is introducing the use of renewables and connecting that to the generation of hydrogen. So we're able to also provide a cleaner energy, primary energy source, and using hydrogen to replace diesel and other fossil fuels in other parts of the process. So we complete a virtuous loop. And there are other strategies using natural opportunities inside the operations. And longer term, we do look at offsets, but we don't believe you can rely on offsets in the long term. So we've got to do it inside the fence. And we think technology is the key.
Yeah, hydrogen is certainly very topical at the moment, isn't it? Let's talk about social license to operate. You know, we've talked about this for a couple of years now and how important it is for global mining companies. I guess, what are some of the best practices for successfully working with communities, and I guess both in developed and developing countries?
Yeah, we've actually changed the term and we've called it a social license to innovate. Because we believe it's so important to change our processes and reduce our footprints, we think that's the first place that society will judge if we're doing a good job. Reducing the cost for our products, making sure we're generating returns, obviously comes from territory. The other thing you've got to remember is we're getting deeper each year that we're mining, so our cost structures are all going up. So all these things come together. In our case, our social way program is absolutely critical in connecting to communities. So if you think 100 years back, it used to be the federal government that used to impact mining operations. Then it became more regional. Today, it's local governments, it's local communities that you've got to connect with. So our social way program, the work we do in our local communities is critical. And for example, our commitment to be a catalyst for 5 jobs for every single job that we create on the mine site is part of that recognition that we have to be part of the community, we have to be contributors to the community, we have to be partners with our community members. So everything we do connects with them. And as we go through technology changes, future of work, all of those things have to be seen as a positive for the community. So how we connect all those pieces is absolutely critical for the future of mining.
And let's talk about the future of mining, because mine sites have changed, as you said, dramatically. Let's talk post-COVID, though. We've seen a lot of new processes and regulations being instigated through COVID. Some have been positive, some have been negative. I guess, can you talk about what aspects you believe Anglo will hold on to in a post-COVID era?
Well, certainly the operating model that we've used has been very effective in helping us streamline, improve our productivities, more planning. So all of those pieces are very important in terms of the way we work. The future of mining, automation, all of those pieces also add value in terms of the operation. But again, you've got to connect with the social side of things. From our point of view, it's likely over the next year or two, our numbers will reduce by 10%, our productivities will drive by 20%. And part of that is for the learnings that we've had with COVID. Now, we're not going to go out there today and make changes immediately. We'll use natural changes in the workplace to achieve those outcomes. But our efficiencies continuing to improve, and those things will come with us. The other thing that I think COVID has changed dramatically is our connections with our communities. Like I said, with the social way, it's about connecting with communities. And now communities are starting to understand what we do on a daily basis with supply chains, how we can help them with energy, water, and other services in the community. So I think it's brought us closer together as well. We don't want to lose that relationship.
Yeah, Anglo's been doing a fantastic job there. I guess, can we talk more broadly about your views on the global mining industry? Do you think they're doing enough on the sustainability front?
Look, I look at all of us as a collective, and none of us are doing enough. It is such a major issue. And I think over the next 10 to 20 years, the transformation we're going to see in mining is going to be significant. I mean, Anglo American has gone from being a mining company digging holes. We're transitioning to be a metals and minerals company, connecting with our consumers and understanding what we have to do to support, and in particular, people are focusing on provenance of product and making sure it's ethical and it's come from the right places and we haven't made a mess where we are. all of those pieces are so important to the communities. You have to demonstrate you're doing the right things there. And I think as an industry, we've got to do a lot better at communicating role in society, what we can do to continue to improve, and how we really are partners in the future for everyone in terms of the future of the planet.
Absolutely. And if we look at sort of the commodities, not only that Anglo has in its portfolio, but more broadly, I guess what commodity industry do you believe has the most amount of legwork to do in terms of meeting its sustainability targets?
Well, clearly the transition in thermal coal is about where energy comes from. So I won't say more about that. You've probably got a lot of speakers about that in the course of the next day or two. Met coal still has work to do on scope 3 and understand how we can partner with our supply chains or our value chains in improving the scope 3 emissions, and that has to be a partnership. But then we're contributing with nickel in batteries, PGMs and the hydrogen economy, copper obviously with the electrification of vehicles and transportation. Commodities touch, or our commodities touch, every part of society, whether it's materials for building, whether it's for energy, whether it's for materials to purify water or to create new energy sources. We are part of everything in terms of the supply chain and the future of the community and the future state of the planet. So every commodity plays its part in our view.
No, absolutely. And if we look at global cost curves, you touched a little bit on this before, but I guess what impact to global cost curves do you see as the industry further invests in these sustainability targets, invests in technology and automation, while striving to get to these sustainability targets? What do you think it's going to be doing for the cost curves? And I guess maybe talk to sort of the most favourable commodity and the least favourable commodity.
Well, I think firstly, if you look at physical mining, mines are going deeper, 40 metres a year on average, grades are dropping. So the structural cost base across the industry, and it varies, is somewhere between 2 and 5% increase a year. We believe technology is absolutely critical to offset those cost increases. In our case, it's been reducing our costs. Now, we've reduced our real cost by 45% since 2013, and that's been both process-driven, automation, technology. We need to keep driving, and the industry needs to keep changing to ensure that we maintain reasonable cost to society in terms of the use of our products. Diamonds looks like a great place to be at the moment. Supply dropping away 15% the next 18 months. So that's a good place to be. And we don't believe that diamonds have lost their luster or their sparkle in terms of consumers. Obviously, PGMs, hydrogen economy, big opportunities. Copper, nickel, electrification, again, big contributors. But there are a whole range of rare earths and other commodities that will play an increasing role in society, particularly as material sciences develop and we see new uses and applications for these types of products. So mining remains as exciting today as it was for me 40 years ago. Great place to be.
It's great to hear that you're so passionate, Mark. It's fantastic. I guess you touched on the connectivity to the customer and the ethical sources of mining, and that's certainly been an emerging thematic. Can you talk around your exploration and your incentive to go to the more remote parts of the world, and then maybe touching on that social license to innovate, which is what you talked around earlier?
Yeah, well, firstly, you've got to go where the minerals are in this industry. So somebody quoted me the other day, if you 30-40% of the world's natural resources are in Africa. If you're not in Africa, you're not in mining. But the reality is you've got to go to where the minerals are. You've got to work out how to target, and those technologies helping us target have been very important in terms of some of the positions we've taken. And so for us, the commodities like rare earths, so we look at regional positions where we believe we can find metals of some description. We're not trying to be too forensic in trying to pick whether it's copper or nickel, because we don't think we're that good yet. but we can see major structures and places that have not been explored in great detail. We think that's where the biggest opportunities are. But you can also look for other materials. It's a bit like poly 4. People said poly what? And poly 4, the polyhalite deposit we have in the UK, is the most remarkable nutrients product, crop nutrients product in the world today. And people are still wondering what it is. And in the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to hear a lot about that. And that product will be key for improving agricultural productivity on a global basis for the next 30 to 50 years. They're the sorts of things you've got to think laterally and see what the future of the world will be, not what it is today, in making good decisions about where you should be exploring.
Absolutely. And I guess Tesla, if we touch on the Investor Day there, they very much touched on this around the local supply chain. I guess, did that trigger you to think differently around your broader supply chain and how you connect with the customers? And you talked around nickel and copper, and basically all your commodities touching all aspects of different communities. But just if we focus on the batteries, can you just talk through that?
Yeah, so as Anglo-American, we've been in that conversation for a number of years. We've been the leader in the development of responsible supply chains. We remain a founding member of IRMA, which is all about, started off with diamonds and has gone much broadly to PGMs and other products. We'll be the first mining company to be reviewed, which is again around responsible supply chain. So it's becoming a way of life for us, being with De Beers, PGMs, our precious metals and other products. It's been something we've been working on for 7 years. So people expect the products that they use to have come from legitimate sources where people have been treated with dignity and respect, that there are no corrupt activities associated with where those materials are being sourced. And from our point of view, that's who we are. That's why a big focus of our work has been on sustainability and making sure that the pathway of our products right the way through to a consumer is appropriate. And we think in the long term, consumers will value that type of provenance. And that's certainly been something that we've been driving hard on for the last 7 years in particular.
And if we then circle back to the Future Smart initiative from Anglo, it's a fantastic initiative. You've got very bold aspirations. Can you just talk through the timing of when we can expect some of these to meaningfully not only be implemented at the Anglo mine sites, but more broadly across the industry?
Yeah, so our Future Smart has been all about that footprint, improving or reducing our footprints in terms of physical. So today, we have a portfolio that was half the size it was back in 2013 in terms of number of assets, yet we're producing 15% more products. So our physical footprint in terms of the operations and the product we deliver is reduced by almost 50%. That's physical footprint. So the intensity where we are operating is much higher. That means we're getting 30% more out of our capital. Our operating costs have dropped 45% in real terms. About a third of that has been the portfolio changes. A third in developing and using automotive and other technologies to the way we run our industrial processes. And the third element, Future Smart, we've changed mining methods. We are utilising bulk ore sorting and starting to roll that to 3 of our sites in the next couple of years. Coarse particle flotation is being trialled at El Soldado today. In the next 2 to 3 years, that'll be rolled out to a number of sites across the group. And in terms of the other applications, hydrogen truck, first large-scale hydrogen truck will be at Mahalaquena early next year. Those technologies in the next 3 to 5 years will continue our march down the cost curve and continue us positioning ourselves as the most efficient producer across the industry. That's where we want to be. A lot of good competitors that we're competing against, but that's where we want to be. And those technologies are at the forefront in driving us into that competitive position.
Mark, Anglo is an industry leader. You are a thinker, and you're certainly changing the industry. And it's so great to hear from you today. Good luck with everything. I hope everything's still, you're still getting that productivity efficiencies that you're talking about. You're certainly on a fantastic trajectory. So thank you once again for participating in IMARC. It's been wonderful to hear from you.
Thanks, Sophie, and all the best to everybody at IMARC and yourself. And we're all on a never-ending journey.
Thanks, Mark.